What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to stay daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time we put a brand new video. Now, this video should be coming out in premiere form. So this will be the first time that we're doing this. We don't know exactly how it's going to work, but hopefully we'll be in the chat with you guys as you guys are watching this video, kind of reacting to our picks. But it's Mock Draft Monday. As every Monday during the offseason up until the draft, we release a 7-round Baltimore Ravens mock draft, and we get to react to it. And so I've done the mock draft. Joshua and I will be discussing it and going over all of the picks. Quick caveat, we have not done any trades in this draft. So potentially in future drafts, we do some trades, but so far has not been any trades. I was not planning on doing any trades or anything like that when I did it, but let us know if you guys like the premiere videos, because we could start doing that for like our, other clipped, segments and stuff that we do. We could also do those in premiere form, but let's get right into it. At the 14th pick in the draft, George Karlaftis, edge rusher out of Purdue, to shore up that pass rush from the Baltimore Ravens. Now, David Ojabo was on the board here, and we know Mike McDonald, defensive coordinator from the Michigan Wolverines. We know John Harbaugh loves his Michigan Wolverines. But you know what I don't like? Ravens drafting Michigan Wolverine players. They don't work out. So I was like, well, I'm not going with Ojabo, strictly on the fact that it hasn't worked out. And George Karlaftis, I think, is a great prospect. Very physical, very quick off the edge. Maybe a little bit of a project, but, I think it could be a great pick. What do you think about George Karlaftis, Joshua?
Honestly, I feel like the George Karlaftis pick is one of the more polished defensive ends coming into this year's draft. If y'all haven't been reading up on him, his player comp is a former Boiler, Ryan Kerrigan, and we all know how Ryan Kerrigan was when he played for the Washington, formerly known as the Redskins, now Commanders. That dude was, a hostile defensive end. He never stopped. He always had a motor. He was strong. There were some clips that I saw of George Karlaftis. I think he actually did pull the Khalil Mack of uplifting one of these tackles and really getting towards the backfield. And if he misses the tackle, he doesn't give up on the play. So imagine having a George Karlaftis on the opposite side of a Tyus Bowser or a Daffy Jason away. Just someone as fast, mobile, agile, and hostile, and someone that's going to really give these quarterbacks a nightmare. Because, we saw what happened when we didn't have the QB pressure as much as we didn't. Or let's put it like this. We saw what happened with the QB pressure, but they didn't finish out with the sacks. So imagine having two young studs on the outside, both getting after the quarterback and finishing sacks, giving that secondary a breather. Because, look at the AFC North now and all the other teams that we're going to be playing. A lot of these teams are not going to be running the ball. They're going to be passing the ball. And, if we're not going to really address our secondary with some big splashes in the free agency, we have to beef up. We have to get these guys on that front seven more agile and hostile and get into the quarterback.
Absolutely. And now with pick 45, you guys on my last mock draft, you guys weren't a huge fan of my lack of drafting on the offensive line, my lack of drafting a tackle. So I went out and got a Baltimore Raven fan favorite, Daniel Faalele, offensive tackle out of the University of Minnesota, played with Rashad Bateman last year, or I guess it would be 2 years ago, but he is a monster football player. He may be the biggest player in the draft. He's about 6'9". He's 390 pounds, and I'm not going to say he's athletic, but he can move. He's not like a complete statue. He's not going to beat anybody in a foot race or anything like that, but he is a little bit raw. However, I think the best comparison that we can give is Orlando Brown Jr. coming out, where it was like, oh, this dude's just big. Can a team get him to that next level? And we were able to do that within half a season. Orlando Brown Jr. was playing at an elite level, and I think Daniel Faalele could be another guy that very well could do that. What do you think about Daniel Faalele, Joshua? I know you're a big fan of his.
Hey, between him and Darius Kennard, I'm really happy that we was able to, in this mock draft, get one of my guys. I'm highly big on Daniel Faalele. That big frame at the right side, and then you have other big frame guy, Ronnie Stanley, come back at the left tackle. hey, I'm all for it. And then by the simple fact that yes, defensive ends are getting more agile, and the athleticism is becoming more freakier every year. You always going to get that, that generational player. I mean, heck, I want to say it was about 2 years ago or three, Chase Young. You got the Khalil Mack, you got your Aaron Donalds, but now getting a Daniel Flaherty, 6'9", a 6'9" guy, that wingspan is crazy. And, with this season, you can actually get developmental offensive linemen and make them into, future Pro Bowlers like we did with Orlando Brown Jr. So I'm all for that.
Oh, yeah. We got to make sure we shore up that offensive line to protect Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely.
But now, speaking of Lamar Jackson, we need Lamar Jackson to get some weapons. Now, I'm a big fan of Hollywood Brown. I'm a big fan of Rashad Bateman. I'm a big fan of Devin Duvernay. But what's the one thing we're missing? That big body jump ball wide receiver. And I am a huge fan of this guy, Christian Watson, wide receiver out of North Dakota State. I've talked about him before on stream. Have yet to get him in a mock draft until today. But I'm a huge fan of his, and he could absolutely become that X wide receiver that the Ravens need. And he's 6'5", very fast, very strong, good with the ball in his hands. He's not immobile when he gets the ball. He can make plays after the catch. And I think that he could be the final piece that the Ravens need, because we've seen how much Greg Roman loves utilizing Miles Boykin in trying to block, because you got to throw a bigger body out there. I love James Prochet. I love Tylan Wallace. But Greg Roman seems to not love them. So let's get him a guy that he may love throwing out there on the line. And we could use him, in two wide receiver sets just to get some blocking, as well as having that threat of a jump ball, of a big play alongside a Hollywood Brown or a Rashad Bateman. Joshua, what are your thoughts on Christian Watson?
I mean, that's definitely somebody you have been talking about. I haven't been able to see any highlights of him, but just saying a guy that's 6'5", big body, big frame, can go up and get the jump ball. That's big and huge for us, because at the end of the day, yes, Hollywood will be with us next year. I believe it. If y'all don't, if Raven fans, if y'all don't believe it, hey, to each his own. But having a Hollywood, a Rashad Bateman on the other side, and then having a big body wide receiver that can catch the ball, that can make the yards at the catch, and can be a threat and open up the run game for us, I'm all for it. And then if y'all didn't watch, if y'all was not in our stream Saturday for our 1-year anniversary of being on YouTube, the HBCU Legacy Bowl was going on. Literally, Marquise McClain, a transfer from Auburn that played for Southern University, 6'3", 6'4" frame, 220 big body, catching the ball in the middle of the field, and and laying the boom and moving forward. Trey Gross, the third, out of Dell State, another 6'4" frame that doesn't mind going out there and getting the deep ball. So at this point, if we're going to keep on, having Greg Roman as our offensive coordinator, we might as well get some wide receivers that we can put on the field that can make a difference, instead of, having some guys that 6'4", 6'5", be casualty cuts or still be on the team and not really, produce.
Absolutely. And now let's move into the next pick in the draft. Pick number 99. I went with Brandon Smith, linebacker out of Penn State University, a former teammate of Odafe Oweh. And he ran, I believe I saw in high school, he ran a 4.37 40-yard dash. Absolute speed demon. He's going to Penn State. He's an athlete. I mean, that is what that defense is made of. Micah Parsons, Odafe Oweh. They have another guy in this draft that's also a crazy athlete. But I'm a huge fan of Brandon Smith. He's very good in coverage. That's his strength, actually, is coverage. He's not a great tackler and run defender. He could potentially be a project. But pass defending is an issue for our linebackers. Patrick Queen is excellent at shooting gaps. That is his specialty. Now we need a linebacker that can cover really well, because we got to go up against some good tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
We got Travis Kelce in the NFL. We get to train him with Mark Andrews. I think Brandon Smith could be a really good pick as just an athlete to get out there on the field alongside all the other great athletes that we have. What do you think about Brandon Smith, Joshua?
What is he, about 6'2", 6'3", 241? Hey, Penn State, they've been doing their dang on thing by producing these linebackers and these defensive ends. I love what they're doing out there. If we can get another Yeah, it's a compliment. If we can get another freak of nature from Penn State, I'm all for it. And then put on top of that, you have a Mike McDonald, you have a Zachary Orr in the facility, being able to train these linebackers up. And we saw the type of energy that Mike McDonald did produce when he was our linebackers coach. So just imagine him getting these young guys. I mean, heck, Patrick Queen, Malik Harrison, even LJ Ford was so happy to have Mike McDonald back in the facility. So, for these young linebackers and getting these guys, being able to really show their true talent, I'm all for it. So I would definitely like that another linebacker be added to the mix.
Yeah, and then pick 108. We get to go back to back to back to back to back in the next couple rounds. But went with Alec Lindstrom, center out of Boston College. I mean, I'm not somebody that I know that I can grade a center very well in terms of scouting and stuff like that. But I know the Ravens should draft a center. I believe that because we don't know what's going to happen with Bradley Bozeman. I think he's probably going to be leaving. So let's draft a guy just in case he does end up leaving. That's my thought process on it. What do you think about it, Joshua?
So as of right now, it look like definitely money will not be spent on offensive linemen. Totally get it, totally respect it. The only offensive lineman that we have spent money on recently is Ronnie Stanley, and unfortunately, he has been hurt. So moving forward, I would love for them to get Ryan Jensen back, or maybe even work out a family friendly deal for Bradley Bozeman. But sometimes that doesn't work in the sports business world. So going at the Alec Lindstrom would be pretty much ideal. I mean, his brother played for Boston College as well. I know he started for the Atlanta Falcons, and actually was drafted in the first round too. So that's a lot. That's a lot to say. I did do some reading up. I saw that he was a more of a fundamentally technician sound type of guy. He's above average. His is the best scheme for him is a run zone scheme type of blocking. He is a little bit under 300 pounds, about 296, 295. So, if he bulks up, get in the weight room, get that muscle and, keep on working on his feet work, because they say he has good hand coordination and he knows how to sustain the box, which we're looking for. But me personally, I kind of like my centers to have that dog mentality. And it doesn't say he has that mauler types of mentality, but he does know how to anchor down. I mean, that's cool, but with you being an offensive lineman in the AFC North, you gotta have a little bit of dog and you gotta have a little fight, because them guys from the opposing side on that front seven, they're gonna be coming, especially Cincinnati, if they find a way to keep all those guys on that front seven. So I definitely will like it. Like I said, we have a schedule. This upcoming schedule is literally for developmental guys to prosper.
Yeah, absolutely. And trying to get those guys to block really well, getting them to play against teams like the Jets and getting them to play against teams like the Jags, which the Ravens get to play next year, could be very helpful.
Yeah.
But pick 117, we're going back to the roots of the Baltimore Ravens organization. How did Ozzie Newsome build up the Ravens? He went to the best school there is, the University of Alabama, drafting Josh Jobe, the cornerback there. It was between him and Kobe Bryant, honestly. And I felt like I like Kobe Bryant. I'm a big fan of Kobe Bryant. But Josh Jobe, the Ravens have done so well drafting Alabama corners. I mean, they drafted Marlon. They drafted Anthony Averett. Now they could draft Josh Jobe, a 6'1" cornerback that plays a press man scheme. It just translates very succinctly to what the Baltimore Ravens try and do with their defense. So I'm a huge fan of it. I do want to draft a corner in the first round. I didn't go Sauce Gardner in the first round. So I want to draft a corner in the draft. Doesn't have to be in the first round. I didn't go with Sauce in the first round. So I was like, we got to get one. Josh Jobe was available. I felt like got to pick him up if he's there. Joshua, what do you think about Josh Jobe?
Josh Jobe is definitely a solid pick. I mean, he is a solid number 2 corner. Me personally, I probably would have went with the Kobe Bryant move. I mean, even though Amar Sauce Gardner for three consecutive years, no one really tried to pass on him. But when you look at Cincinnati in that Bama game, Kobe and Sauce were both respected. Bryce is by far is going to be one of the best quarterbacks to go into next year's draft. I mean, let's just call it now. He knows how to pass. He knows how to read a defense. He knows how to, escape, evade defenders and things of that nature. But still, when you watch that game, Bryce wasn't really trying to attack the outsides as much. So I definitely like Josh Jobe, but I still would have. I would have took the number 8. Kobe Bryant.
That's very fair. But I think we can agree on this next pick. Pick 126, one of our guys, Nick Cross, safety out of the University of Maryland. He's a Maryland guy, then went to University of Maryland. Let's keep him in Maryland, going to the Baltimore Ravens. And he is someone that could be a dynamic playmaker. I mean, that's just all I can describe him as is playmaker. He can hit hard. He can attack the ball. He can force fumbles. That's what I want to see out of a safety for the Baltimore Ravens. What do you think about Nick Cross, Joshua?
Hey man, we actually been, when it comes to being a Ravens fan, you can't always go for the big names that pop out. So now you got to start searching for the gems, because at the end of the day, when it comes to the Ravens, when it comes to free agency, we know they don't spend a lot of money because of cap, and also when it comes to drafting, they're not going to always go for the big names, for the simple fact that's not the Ravens' way. So what do you do now? You find gems. Nick Cross at safety for University of Maryland is a gem. Now we all know that. Well, I pretty much know that him and Marquise Howard out of FAMU, both safeties, they're actually training together as we speak. And they actually said that he's Nick Cross IQ test. He's going to grade very high, which I'm not surprised, because a young man can get it done. And on the defense, between linebacker and safety, I think that's one of the smartest positions. I mean, heck, we had one of the best linebacker and safety duo in NFL history, in my opinion. Ravens Flock argue me about it. Being able to have someone in the backfield that can be trusted, that can be a playmaker, which we have missed since Earl Thomas. I'll argue that as well. I like it.
Yeah, and I love to keep Maryland guys in Baltimore. So
Absolutely.
pick 138. We got 2 picks almost back to back. We got 138 and then 140. I went with John Ridgeway, defensive lineman out of Arkansas, and then 140 I went with Garrett Prince, tight end out of UAB. John Ridgeway, he plays nose tackle at Arkansas. We're potentially losing Brendan Williams. We could potentially be losing Calais Campbell. I feel like we should go after some defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like Ridgeway, it could be a decent spot right there. And then Garrett Prince, he's very willing to block as a tight end. He was a former wide receiver, converted tight end. He can get on the line. And he's willing to block. He's not amazing at blocking, but we've seen how good the Ravens are at developing blockers. I think that Garrett Prince could be a really solid number 3 tight end for the Baltimore Ravens. What do you think about those picks almost back to back, one pick in between them?
I mean, honestly, I don't know too much about these guys, but for the simple fact that we are actually filling a lot of gaps that we had questions with in our roster. I mean, hey, we need the depth on interior defensive lineman, and we also need the depth with tight end. I mean, I thought for sure we was going to have, Eli, I believe it was Eli Wolf, be our third tight end, but things happen. Totally understand. And then last year going to training camp, I think we had about 7 tight ends. So, hey, we can make things work. We can make anybody produce for us. I mean, heck, look at Justin Matabike and Broderick Washington when they was out there together. I mean, they was just so much in unison, and Justin Matabike made that big jump, So, continue adding on to that youth. I don't see us bringing back Brandon Williams. I do actually see us bringing back Calais Campbell, excuse me, because he produced more. So
yeah,
I like the fact that we're adding more youth onto both sides of the ball.
Absolutely. And now the final pick 194. I went with Demarion Williams, a cornerback safety hybrid out of the University of Houston. And at cornerback, he was a slot guy. And I felt like I really liked that as the final pick. We tried to do it last year. We drafted Shaun Wade as a new slot cornerback, ended up trading him. Kind of regretted the trade because then every cornerback on the Ravens roster got hurt, but it's all good. Demarion Williams could replace Tavon Young because Tavon Young makes a lot of money. And then also just having a guy that can play safety and corner is always valuable, I think, in a league that needs depth. especially in the secondary. I like Demarion Williams to provide that depth. He's got good ball skills, can play man and can play zone. I really like him as a 5th-round prospect. I love him.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Just for the simple fact that he can play, because I did see something where he could be lined up on the outside as the number 2 corner, which is cool. But at the end of the day, he's like 5'10", 5'11". You want to put your your athletes where they best can win, and put them in the slot, and also put them at the safety, like almost an Darius Washington, who will get back healthy next year. Well, this upcoming year, sorry. It's good to see that. And I also, when I was reading his report, seeing that he was willing to go out there and tackle, you need those type of guys that knows, like, hey, I may be undersized or I may not be this fast, but listen, I can do this. And then something else that also stuck out to me too was his ball skills. He is able to get out there, break up the pass. I mean, I believe University of Houston played against Tulsa. I don't know whether it was like a bowl game or a regular game, but he actually did get an interception and took it back to the house. So, being able to hear those things, see those things, I'm like, well, secondary was missing out a lot of those, those big plays, those big opportunities. Let's get a guy on our team that can come out there and make things happen. And plus, you have a defensive coordinator that loves putting guys in position to win and also using guys with multiple versatility. So I actually like that pick as well.
Yeah, I think I was really happy with how this mock draft turned out. Let us know, guys, what you guys are thinking about our mock draft. Let us know if there's any players that you think, hey, we should look into for future mock drafts. But, this is obviously, this is in a preview, or I can't even remember what it's called anymore. It's in a, the release and a premiere. That's what it's called. I don't know why I was blanking out on that name. This is coming out in a premiere. Let us know if you guys like the premieres, because we can absolutely do that with the different segments that we do, so that we can kind of be in the chat while you guys watch our takes and stuff like that. Let us know what you guys think. I know I'll be in the chat when this releases. I think it'll probably release at around 6 p.m. Not 100% sure though, but let us know what you guys think about the mock draft. Let us know any mock drafts you guys have. Thank you, everybody. We'll see all of you again tomorrow.